Hello and welcome to my baby massage course. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Diana Warren and I'm a registered adult nurse and neonatal nurse, infant feeding specialist, board certified lactation consultant and a tongue-tie provider with over a decade's experience behind me. But today I'm bringing you my expertise in baby massage, which boasts a realm of benefits and also acts as an entry-level course to the baby yoga and the baby tots courses, which as you can see I also teach on here. There is a lot of information on the slides, but the beauty of this recording is that you can repeat all of the bits that you need to, adding new strokes each week. I really hope that you enjoy the course as much as I do. My advisory notice. Please be advised that all work provided in this course is protected by my copyright and trademark, and it is illegal to share, copy or repurpose the materials for your own commercial use or with others. You are entitled to use these materials for your own personal use only. For those of you that have already attended my clinic in person, you're going to recognise me in the videos, I'm sure. The videos do include me demonstrating on a doll mannequin, and whilst I would love for all of the demonstrations to be on a real baby, unfortunately, as I'm sure you can appreciate, they don't stick to my schedule. They don't do as I'm asking them to, so quite unpredictable and trickier to teach on. There are video clips on other online platforms though, if that's what you prefer, or similarly I'm happy to go over these should we meet again. As an introduction, obviously we do need to talk about medical considerations. So please do obviously check with your healthcare professional if you do have any diagnosed or suspected medical conditions before you undertake this course. We do need to make sure that we're safe. So these would include things like back pain, mobility issues, if you're pregnant, particularly at the time of the course, if you've had a section. There's a lot of floor work involved in baby massage, so obviously standing up and sitting down from the floor can be quite tricky after you've had abdominal surgery. So my suggestion would be to wait a good 6 to 8 weeks first, and then to check with a midwife too. Allergies, this is more related to oils. A lot of people would look at nut oils, and if your baby has any health considerations too. Environmental considerations, going back to the type of oils we need to consider. When I did my training, however many years ago it was now, we were taught that a cold pressed organic sunflower oil is the primary consideration and what is recommended. I am aware that since I've done the course, there are other trainers that are suggesting other types of oils such as coconut oil. Do be very mindful that there are oils that are quite cooling and quite drying. I was told not to use things like Johnson's baby oil or coconut oil because they can make babies quite cold and also dry their skin too. The best thing to do would be to patch test a small area on your baby first. So usually on the inner wrist or just behind the ear, just a small patch, and then monitor that area for 7 days before you do any massage with full-on oil. And then obviously monitor that area for reaction. If there is a reaction on that area, then obviously that needs to be discussed with your medical healthcare provider further. If there isn't any reaction, then yes, that is a good one to use for the massage. But again, you don't want one that cools your baby down, because the last thing we want is for them to be cold, particularly when they're stripped. Other environmental considerations to be aware of is natural lighting, the warmth of the room. Like I've said, they're going to be stripped, so we don't want the room any less than 25 degrees. So it may be that we need to ramp up the heating there. Noise and distractions kept to a minimum, so mobiles on silent or in another room, and just taking into account other things. I do play baby lullaby music through the videos as well, so it may be that to keep the massage in real time, you do it alongside that as well, but similarly you might want to silence me because my voice is all over it. And then smell. So thinking about multisensory, most babies would do massage on a blanket or a towel on top of their firm surface, and that towel may smell of you or homely smells that they're going to find quite reassuring. However, I do also have to be very clear that this course is only aimed at UK residents. Whilst other areas of the world are very welcome to look at my courses, from an insurance perspective, I can only be in sync with those that are based in the UK. And that's not me, that's my insurers. So moving on, so some information about this course. This is a 4-week course. You can extend it to 5 or even 6 weeks, dependent how you want to break things up. But in general, a different body area is targeted each week until the very end, when you would be able to work your way through a full massage. Do practice each day the taught strokes. This will give you and your little one the maximum benefit of the course, especially as he or she may take a short period of time to get used to what to expect. During bedtime or bath time routines are ideal. Each body area is identified, detailing the benefits and the caution of each area. This is followed by a diagram on each type of stroke, which shows a finger touch direction over a blue arrow indicating which way to go. When there's more than one line, it means there is multiple touch. For example, 2 lines or arrows means you use both hands at the same time. When there's 5 lines, such as in the caterpillar walk, you would use 5 fingertip touch at the same time. Don't worry, you'll see on the videos what I mean. Finger and toe strokes are individual. If you're unsure, use the video demos and follow each diagram technique. Each exercise should last around 30 seconds and they are repeated. Repetitions are identified by the number next to them. Be sure to remember and repeat the exercises on the body areas on the opposite side too. We don't want one arm being overworked and the other arm not. So for example, if you're doing the left arm first, make sure you do the right arm straight away after, and obviously the same for legs. The total time for massage at any one time shouldn't exceed 25 minutes, and that's a full body massage, so when you get to week 4 plus. It can be shorter if your little one does indicate a need. If your baby's unhappy during a massage, stop the massage and address their need. There is just one main rule throughout the whole of this course, and that is only to massage the babies that want to be massaged. If your baby has a full nappy or are hungry, for example, they're not going to be able to relax and enjoy the benefits of the massage from the offset. So address those issues first, then come back to it when you and Baby's ready. This course can be accessed unlimited amount of time, so there is no time deadline or for completion or anything like that. Music is a great way to enhance your little one's experience too, and this heightens their senses using sound. One way to do this would be to sing a short nursery rhyme or a lullaby to each stroke, or play some calming, relaxing music. As I've said on the course that when I'm doing the video demonstrations, I do have music in the background. So if you did want to do your own lullaby or different music, obviously you would need to silence me using your own computer speakers and then turn me back on for the next week. And that brings us on nicely to what the benefits of baby massage are. So it aids gross and fine motor skills, it helps with sleep, increases the duration and the frequency, it aids digestion, preventing constipation and colic, helps with reaching developmental milestones such as coordination, that hand-eye motion, increases parent-baby bonding, it's playful, fun, trusting, baby's body awareness, increased strength and flexibility, social interaction, reduces stress by reducing cortisol levels, so it's nice and calming for them. Things that you may need: towel or a blanket, as I said on the previous slide, for comfort but also for that familiar smell. A cushion, just for the caregiver's comfort or for any floor work. Oil, cold pressed organic sunflower oil, as I mentioned earlier, as long as it's massage grade. Let's not be using cooking grade. We don't want any chip fat being used on baby's skin. That's not a good move. And coconut oils, as I've already mentioned, are not recommended. We do need a nice firm, stable surface, so the floor is ideal. Obviously we don't want babies rolling off tables, so a nice and low level is ideal. So as I've already said, the course is staged, so you learn a different body part at each session. I'd recommend not introducing too much all at once, so ideally one body part per week. And as you can see from the breakdown, weeks 2 and 3 can be broken down even further. So you know your baby better than I do, and you can recognise their cues, and I'm not with you in person. So do break it down if it's too much too soon, particularly for the littler babies. So week 1, we're looking at legs and feet. This is best done in a baby vest. And week 1 we always do with no oil, so a dry massage. And this is mainly because the legs are the skin that's least likely to react to any type of oil. But also if you've done your patch test this week, we're still not 100% sure what we're allergic to or not. So we do dry massage for this very first week. Week 2, we then move on to tummy massage. And then there is, I do also go over both the colic and teething sequences this week as well. Now those are used ad hoc, they're not part of the full massage, but they're quite handy to use if you're out and about, for example, and your baby's particularly struggling with colic at that moment in time. You can just do the colic at that stage. It's not something that you have to do the full massage with. Week 3, we're looking at the chest, arms and hands, and then the face as well. So again, you can break that down into 2, or you could do an all-in-one if you wanted to at that point. And then week 4, we're looking at the back, but you would then obviously have all of the information with you to do the full massage. So week 1, we're looking at week 1. On week 2, we're doing week 2 and week 1 together. On week 3, we're doing week 3, 2 and 1 together. And week 4, you're doing all 4 weeks worth of information and massage together, and that would complete the full body massage. All massage sessions do begin and end with a stroke called the cover of love. And this is an acknowledgement between the baby and the caregiver. And this is so it becomes a recognised sign, so that he or she would know what to expect, like a form of communication and learnt behaviour. So, the cover of love. Before starting a massage, we always sign to the baby that this is what we're going to be doing, so that they then begin to know and learn and understand that a massage is what to expect. And this is so that then you have this eventual aim that they would then use facial and body expressions back to communicate to you as the caregiver, to either show their excitement and cooperation that they're keen for this massage, or that they're not interested at this time. Caregivers should put their palms together in the baby's eye lines, such as in this picture here, and then rub their hands together as if they're warming the massage oil through, as you would be doing in weeks 2+. Checking in with the baby the whole time with positive smiles and encouragement, and obviously that's something that we want to be doing throughout the whole massage to make it a nice positive experience for them. So the cover of love, as per this image, is used to begin and end all sessions, dependent on the massage sequence chosen, and maybe front or back strokes. So the front stroke is from the top of the head down to the baby's feet, using all the way down, and then the back cover of love stroke, which is primarily used at the end of a massage or in week 4 when you're doing your back massage, and that's from the top of the head, using the flat of the hand down the baby's back and ending at the feet. So let's begin. So week 1, legs. Let's look at the benefits. So the legs are the least sensitive part of the body, and so a good starting point to get used to the sensation of the strokes. Their legs and their bottoms are the largest and most often active parts of the body, and so massaging these is good for relaxing the muscles and easing any tensions. It's great for getting the circulation flowing. It helps to increase their flexibility, building on muscle tone. Foot massage also stimulates the reflex points too. But then we've got the cautions. So for all leg strokes, you must make sure that you're keeping your baby's legs supported, particularly in the raised position, and that you don't put any pressure over the knee joint at all, front or back. Strokes should be firm up towards the heart, but pressure should be light when stroking away from the heart. And toe strokes should go over the toes. Please do not be tempted to straighten them out because they have a toe grasp as a reflex to touch. So here is the visual theory for the individual strokes. As I've said, that this week is done over close or dry, so no oil this week until your patch test response is clear. And we're starting with the cover of love stroke first. We will work through all of these strokes, spending around 30 seconds on each. Once we've worked through these, we mustn't forget the other leg too, of course. Don't worry, there's a video demo coming up. So starting from the top, we have the easy squeezy. So for this one, we're going to cup the right ankle with your right hand, and to support their leg, of course, and stroke your left hand up their leg towards their bottom, applying the pressure on the underside of the leg with your thumb, not over their knee joint. And this is finger touch pressure, so firm that you can feel it, but not obviously a painful firmness. And keep going up towards the thigh and around in the direction of the blue arrows, and rotate at the top so that the fingers are then on the underside of the thigh and then back down. And we do this 3 times. The second one is called Give It Some Soul, and we're doing this 10 times over. This is quite a quick stroke. So again, supporting the baby's leg around the ankle area. Place one thumb onto the heel and stroke up towards the toes. When the toes are reached, move your thumb and follow with the other thumb, so you're performing a thumb over thumb type motion. Use upward strokes from the heel to the toe, release, and then back to the heel again. You're not going up and down in the same firm pressure. And we're doing this 10 times over. The next one is the Wings of Love. So for this one, again, supporting the leg at the ankle, using both thumbs simultaneously, press and press down into them in a pulse-like motion. Starting in the centre of the heel, spreading outwards in like a wing kind of direction, like on the blue arrows on the picture, and doing a set of 3 on the underside of each foot, working from the middle to the outside. So 3 on each type of stroke, so you're doing 3 sets of 3. The next one is the sausage roll. I love the sausage roll. So again, starting with the big toe and working down to the little toe, we're going to roll the toes between your thumb and your forefinger from the bottom moving upwards. And then when you reach the end, you give a little tug and then you move on to the next one too. And there is a picture. There we go. The next one is happy feet. Again, supporting the baby's leg from under the heel and the ankle, placing one thumb on the top of the foot and at the base of the toes, stroking up towards the ankle. When the ankle is reached, move the thumb and follow up with the other thumb, so you're performing a thumb over thumb motion. So this is very similar to the Give It Some Soul, but this time it's on the forefront of the foot, not the sole itself. And we're going to do 10 of these. Moving on to the ankle bracelet. For this one, again, supporting the heel, moving your thumbs around, making nice little small circles around, like a little anklet around there. And we're moving that a good 3 times for each. And then we have the wibble wobble. Again, supporting the legs over the lower calf this time between your palms. And you're going to roll their leg between your palms of your hands as if you're making a sausage. So gradually moving towards the knee, but again, not over the knee. And gliding your hands over that knee as you go past to then do the same on the thigh. And just moving up and down and progressing towards the bottom. And we're going to do that 3 times over. And then the last one, we love this one, bottom bliss. So this is where baby's lying on their back, feet towards you, cupping both hands from the underneath of their bum and gently applying pressure while sweeping your hands down the bottom and gliding hands down over the back of the legs down towards the ankle. When the ankle is reached, gently stretch the legs out before placing the hands and the legs down. So week 1. Here is my real-time video demonstration of these leg strokes. Starting with the easy squeezy. Moving on to the give it some soul. There's 10 of these. And then the wings of love. And then my favourite sausage roll, wriggle, wriggle and tug onto Fabulous. So this is week 2 and this week is split into 3 sections, primarily the tummy and the tummy combined with what you learnt last week with the legs is already half of the full massage, so I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. Parts 2B and C are the teething and colic sections. Now, they can be integrated into the full course, but they can also be used ad hoc and in isolation to the rest of the course, which is ideal because it means that they can be used to treat those symptoms as and when you need them. But I'll come on to those shortly. I just want to talk about the benefits of the tummy first, which can help stimulate the digestive system, can help alleviate trapped wind, help prevent constipation, but there are cautions as well. So we're starting with a still touch, as we do with all massage, and we're always working in a clockwise direction. So if you imagine the clock face on your baby's tummy, the bladder sits at around 5 to 7 o'clock. So when you're passing over that area, you really must lighten the pressure with your fingertip touch over that area, because the bladder is very fragile, and the last thing we want is to cause any form of internal damage or bruising over that area. But again, make sure the strokes are on the tummy and they don't go up into the rib cage either. That's also something that we don't want to be doing. And avoiding the umbilical area, so the belly button area. We don't want to be pressing on there either. So here are my famous strokes. Same method as before, working our way through the 7 new ones, using the pictures and my descriptions to help you. And yes, you've got my famous video demo coming straight up. Again, using the cover of love before you begin. We're going to start with the tummy snug. So we're doing this one 5 times over. And this is where you're cupping your baby's torso with your hands around the sides, on their little love handles, on their hips, and then with your thumbs based at their belly button area, and then you're stroking your thumbs outwards from the belly button out towards your sides, their sides, releasing your thumb and then placing back to the belly button again, and repeating. And we're going to repeat that 5 times, but obviously do this base with your starting point at the belly button and not higher up into the rib cage. We then move on to the roly-poly, starting on with the underneath of your baby's rib cage, placing your hands with your palms down onto your baby's tummy. Stroke down towards the top of the legs, crossing one hand over and the other way in a roly-poly downward motion. Very similar to the sole technique that you did in the legs last week, but obviously this one's on the stomach this time, so that rolling motion. But again, making sure that you start at the belly button and not higher up into the rib cage. We're then moving on to tummy time, using the pads of your 3 middle fingers, keeping your palm flat. Make a nice circular motion around in a clockwise direction around the torso, just like on the picture there, in that clockwise direction, and obviously releasing any pressure over that 5 to 7 o'clock as we've said. We then have flower power. So again, very similar to the anklets one last week that you did for legs. Flower power is obviously on the stomach this time. So using the pads of your 3 middle fingers again, keeping the palm nice and flat, make nice circular motions in a large circle this time, like a flower head in a clockwise direction around the torso. And again, not going up into the rib cage or firm pressure over the 5 to 7 o'clock mark. And then we've got the rainbow. This is probably the most famous one of all of the strokes and most well known. So this is where you keep the palm flat and using the pads of your fingertips again, but you're going to trace an upside down U. So the shape of a rainbow from the baby's right thigh up and over to the left thigh in a rainbow shaped motion. And we're going to do that 3 times over. We then have the tummy tuck, and this one is used also later on in the colic section. So you would need to support the legs at the ankles for this one. Stretching the legs gently and then bringing the knees up to the baby's belly and counting in for 3 and then release, but you're gradually bouncing their legs as you go under your support, and we're doing that 3 times over. But again, don't worry, that's all on the video demo. And then finally the caterpillar walk. So using your right hand, starting on the left hand side, so your baby's right side of their tummy, walking your fingers along from left to right with a nice little wiggle, such as the arrow pictures there, as you can see on the slide. And we're going to do that 3 times over. And here is the real-time video. I'll talk you through the strokes, starting with the tummy snug. And there we have the tummy. Teething. This is always a popular one, as our babies do seem to struggle with teething. Be guided by them though as to whether they're okay for you to be in your mouth and touched. If your baby has just had a tongue-tie division though and the wound's still healing, please be mindful not to touch the wound itself. The exercises are absolutely fine to do with a healing wound, we just don't want to touch them, because the overall strokes of course can help with bodily tensions, so please don't feel the need that you have to wait. But benefits of the teething sequence is that they release the endorphins and oxytocin hormones that assist with pain relief. It increases circulation and the blood flow to the gums. It releases the pressure temporarily to the gums. But caution, use the pad of the finger and not the tip of your finger. And although it's uncommon for very young babies to display signs of teething, there are exceptions to the rule. For these very few cases, the rooting and sucking reflexes are still strong, and stroking the cheeks and the mouth may frustrate the baby. Let your baby guide you as to which strokes are acceptable, remembering that we only massage the babies that wish to be massaged. Teething sequence again. So these are all 3 repetitions per stroke. And even if using as ad hoc massage, still use the cover of love message first. I can't show you the gum massage stroke itself as you won't be able to see a thing, but others are coming up in a double video alongside the colic. If your baby's ever had a tongue function assessment, this stroke is similar to one of those in the reflex-based functions. So the gum massage one is the one that I can't show you, but this is where you're putting the forefinger gently into your baby's mouth and making small circular motions along the gum line where their teeth are trying to make an appearance. Repeat this while the baby is happy for you to do so. And then we have the love heart. So placing the pads of your fingers at the front of the ear in one sweep, stroke both hands over behind the ears and down the jaw to meet at the chin, creating the shape of a heart. We then have jaw circles. Placing the pads of your fingers at the front of the ears, make small circular motions following the jawline to the chin. A little bit like Father Christmas beard, I always think. We then have say cheese. Placing the pads of your thumbs just above the top lip in the centre, sweeping your thumbs outwards and upwards in the shape of a smile. Repeat this just underside the mouth. The rosebud. Placing the pads on your four fingers together just above the top lip at the centre, just underneath the baby's nose, and trace around the shape of the heart around your baby's mouth with your fingers meeting at the centre of the lower lip. So the colic and wind sequence benefits. So the wind can be moved through the colon, assisting with elimination, preventing a buildup of gas. Helps the baby to relax so that tension doesn't escalate to a discomfort. And helps digestive motility, preventing constipation. The cautions, always working in that clockwise direction, visualising that clock on their belly again. Making sure the strokes are on the tummy and not up onto the rib cage. Lightening the pressure over the bladder at the 5 to 7 o'clock, again because it's quite a fragile area and we don't want to cause any organ damage there. So the wind and colic sequence, not forgetting your still touch and your cover of love first. You'll notice that the tummy tuck stroke is used twice. So I'll talk you through, but all of these you have actually already done as part of the tummy course. So on that week you did learn all of the strokes, but we're just doing in a slightly different order and collating them into one specifically for this. So we're starting with still touch with your roly-poly, your tummy tuck, your rainbow, your flower power, and then the tummy tuck again. And here we have the video, so the teething sequence. Starting with your gum massage and then moving onto your love hearts, as you can see here. Going on to your jaw circles, so your Father Christmas beard one. And this is your say cheese. So you can see the fingers are moving in opposite directions, one across the top lip, one on the underneath. And then moving on to the rosebud. And then we're moving on to the wind and colic sequence. Starting with your roly-poly. Your tummy tuck first time round. Before moving on to your rainbow. again, not that high. You shouldn't be up into the nipples like my picture looks like it is on there. So nice and low, not up and into the rib cage. And that's for the 5. And then moving on to our flower power, which is our nice little circles, like daisy petals, going all around the torso area. For 5. And then moving into the tummy tuck again. Hello and welcome to week 3. So this week I've chosen to combine 2 sections together. If this is too much too soon for your baby, particularly if they are very little, then do split this week into 2. So overall it becomes a 5-week course, not a 4-week course. And then it's better that way because it acts as a gradual build-up. But similarly, if your baby's tolerating and enjoying the massage well, then there's no reason not to combine it. It's really very much based on how you feel and how your baby's getting on. But this week is also to be rehearsed in combination with week 1 and week 2A. So we're gradually building up towards that full massage, which is the aim. So the first section is chest, arms and hands, and looking at the benefits, it is relaxing. It improves their circulation. Hand massage stimulates the reflex points. But again, we have our caution, starting with still touch as per all sections. Making sure that the chest strokes do not go below and up into the rib cage. And avoiding putting pressure onto the elbow joints itself. And the finger strokes should go over the fingers and not be tempted to straighten them themselves, because their finger grasp is a pincer reflex as well to touch. So we don't want to be working against the body. Okay, so this is quite a busy slide, so I'll get started. So starting with butterfly wings. So this is where you place your hands, palms down with your fingers touching so that it makes an upside down V shape. And then you're placing your fingers down together in the middle of the chest, stroking upwards into the collarbone and then moving your hands apart and bringing them down to the sides of the chest. When you're at the bottom of the rib cage, you slide your hands back up together so that they finish as if they were started. So don't worry, this is all on the video slide coming up, but in the you're doing both sides of the chest at the same time with both hands. So following the blue arrows on the picture just there. Then we've got your cross your heart motion. So this is where you're starting with your hands on the other side of the bottom of the rib cage. Sliding your right hand up into the diagonal motion to the baby's right shoulder and then bringing down to the starting point again. And then you'll do the same again onto the other side. And so you're repeating each side over. So you're crossing over on the diagonal each time. We then have the chest prayer. So this is a 2-part one. So we're starting with your hands in the prayer position at your baby's chest. And you're touching your fingers together at the chest too. And then you're gradually spreading your fingers out, moving your little fingers to the sides of the baby. And then you're going to keep going until your thumbs, still touching each other, touches the baby's skin. Then we then spread out your hands to underneath the baby's arms. And then part 2 to this section is when you're bringing your arms back as above, but keep spreading the hands up and over the shoulders and down to the hands again. We then have our wrist kiss. So supporting baby's hands at the wrist, you're using your thumb in that rolling motion like we have on other strokes, but you're crisscrossing over their inner wrist at the time. So using your thumb, stroking the inner wrist from the centre outwards, and then the opposite thumb going in the opposite diagonal stroke at that time, and you're doing that for 10 times each side. We then have the friendship bracelet, so familiar stroke, but this time on the wrist, not the ankle. So again, with your thumbs making circular motions around the wrist, and you're repeating that 3 times. And then my favourite wibble wobble, but this time on the arms. So exactly the same as the leg wibble wobble, but this time on the arms. So supporting your the baby's arm using your hands between your palms and rolling the forearm and wobbling it around with your hands as if you were rolling into a little sausage shape with plasticine. And then you're gradually moving your hands over the elbow, not massaging or putting pressure over the elbow joint, up to the upper arm, and then you're doing the same. And then you glide your hands back over the elbow joint again, back down to the lower arm, and then you glide your hands back over the elbow joint back to the upper arm, and you do that so it's 10 strokes on each side. And then moving on to our love glove. So this is a 3-part section, but this is where we're concentrating primarily on the fingers. So this one is for 3 strokes, and you're supporting baby's hand at the wrist, and you're placing one thumb on top of the other, doing that motion, that rolling motion again, stroking down towards the fingers or up towards the fingers. When the fingers are reached, you remove your thumb and follow up with the other thumb. So like I say, that thumb over thumb rolling action there. Step 2. We're doing 10 times over, and this is where you're cupping your baby's hand with yours, using the free hand to stroke up the palm with your thumb from the wrist to your fingertips. And then step 3, rolling your fingers between your thumbs and doing that forefinger from the base of the finger upwards, gradually having that little tug. So very similar to your sausage roll one that you did on the toes, but this time it's on the fingers. Here we go then. So starting off, and we're going to start with our butterfly wings. Moving into the cross your heart. Much easier to see in a demonstration than trying to discuss it, isn't it? And then moving into the chest prayer. So as you can see, you're moving into a prayer position, and then arms to the sides, and then chest, and then over the shoulders, and then prayer, and then to the side of the chest, and then prayer, and to the shoulders again. And then in a slightly different order, we're moving on to the love glove. So this is your wibble wobble pull version of the wrist glove starting off first. So rolling their fingers in your forefinger and thumb with that gentle tug on each. And then that rolling action, so onto the fore of the hand, the forehand, and you're doing that rolling action with your thumbs. And then moving over for the same action, but across the palm of their hand this time. into wrist kiss. So you can see we're doing that crisscross action using your thumbs over their inner wrist. And this is just slightly changed the order from the description because we need to keep the hands and the wrist strokes together so you know where you're at when you're doing the opposite side, of course. And then moving into your friendship bracelet, this is the little circles, the daisy chain around the wrist. And then the wibble wobble, so the arm wibble wobble, so gliding to the forearm, gliding over the elbow to the upper arm, and then gliding back again. Beautiful. And then again, we're not forgetting to do the other side for the opposite arm and hand too. So this is the second section for this week, but as I say, please, if your baby is tired, please don't push them to completing. We only massage those that wish to be massaged, and we need to listen to their cues. So it can be deferred until next week if needs be. It's no great shakes on that front. But head and face benefits, stimulates the sinuses, helps alleviate any cold symptoms. It's also very relaxing, can be used to help make them nice and tired as well before asleep. Always good at the bedtime routine, this one. But caution, often it's the one that babies don't like the most, particularly if they're teething. They don't like being faffed about with unless they are particularly tired. And to use minimal or no oil at all when using the face, and that's because obviously the face is particularly sensitive. And here I have quite another full slide for you to work through again. So starting with the cover of love and then moving on to hilltops. So hilltops is where you would place your thumbs in the centre of their forehead, so at the beginning of each eyebrow, and then you're tracing the eyebrow line with your pad of your thumb up and over as if you're doing the rainbow technique, but both eyebrows at the same time. And we're doing this for 3 strokes each, but each time you're going a little bit higher than the stroke that you did before. We then move on to the next one, which is called the sleep sweep. And this is where you place the pad of your finger in the centre again, but at the hairline. And you're gently, slowly sweeping your fingertip over their forehead, downwards, over their nose and right to the very tip. And this is quite a good one when they're really tired, because it can just, if they're overtired particularly, it can just make them eventually close their eyes and drift off to sleep. Next one is say cheese. So this is the same one that you've done before. So placing your pads and your thumbs just over the top lip in the centre and sweeping your thumbs outwards and upwards in the shape of a smile. So again, in opposite directions, and you're repeating this at the top and the bottom at the same time. So you're doing 3 cheek strokes on each. Moving on to cheek sweep. So this is where you're placing your thumbs, pads together at the top of the nose in between the eyebrows, And then you're sweeping your thumbs down ever so gently over the sides of the nose and out over the cheekbones, out towards the side. And you're repeating that 3 times over. And then we have the love heart. So placing your pads of your fingers at the front of their ear, and in one sweep, stroking both of your hands over and behind the ears and then down the jaw to meet the chin, creating the shape of a heart. So again, this is one that you're already familiar with. But then we've got our spider slider. So this is our additional one added in. So a little bit more complex to talk through, but again, a lot easier to visualize on the video slide. So it's in 4 sections, and we tend to do this start with our Incy Wincy Spider nursery rhyme, just so it's easier to remember and makes it nice and fun for Babby too. So we call it the spider slider. So point 1. Is when you're walking your fingers up the shoulders towards the head, and you're continuing up to the underneath of the top of the back of the neck to mimic a spider walk. So we do this to the first line, Incy Wincy Spider climbed up the water spout. And then our second line in, down came the rain and washed poor Incy out. So we're stroking both hands down from behind the neck onto the shoulders, all the way down into one fluid motion there. Third line, up came the sunshine and dried up all the rain. So we're starting again, but this time we're doing the fluid motion up, not the walking motion up, because the last one is the last line. So Incy Wincy Spider climbed up the spout again, which is where we're doing the wriggly of the finger down again. So as you can see, following the arrows, that's what we're looking at there. Starting with hilltops, getting higher each time for a total of 3. Moving on to cheek sleep sweep. And then say cheese. And then cheek sweep. And then our love hearts. And then bursting into song for Incy Wincy Spider climbed up the water spout, but down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sunshine and dried up all the rain. So Incy Wincy Spider climbed up the spout again. I can't speak as quick as the strokes are going, but you can see it's the wriggly of the fingers up, sliding down, sliding up, wriggling of the fingers down. And welcome to the final week. This week you get to complete the massage by doing all 4 or 5 week stages together to make a full massage in its entirety. Well done for making it this far. So the last session is the back. Now, depending on your baby and their age really depends on how well they're going to tolerate this. So if they love a little bit of tummy time, then this is going to go well. But if they're a little bit older, they might try and roll. So do be vigilant on that. Benefits of back massage is that it's incredibly relaxing for them. It does release tension and increases circulation for them too. It can help to improve their posture, and you can do it with them lying on their front or over your shoulder or across the caregiver's knees or even sitting up. So if they are at the stage of trying to roll, there are other ways that we can get around this. Cautions though, is to never put any pressure on the spine and to make sure that the stroke is firm enough but not a tickle. So here we are, week 4. Now this time your cover of love's done on their back because they're obviously lying on their front this time. Moving forwards with a full massage, you just do the cover of love at the beginning of any massage whilst they're lying on their back, as you have done for the last number of weeks, and then at the end to signify that it's over this way, just so that they understand that it's time that the massage has finished and that they can enjoy their chill. So I'll show you that in just a second, but just to start with the strokes, we're starting with M is for mummy. And this is where for this stroke you imagine that you're drawing that letter M on their back. So starting with either hand on their hips, at the top of their bottoms, and then placing your palms just there, and you're sweeping upwards towards the shoulders with your hands on either side of their spine, going up, and then as you come up and over the shoulders and then bringing the stroke down back towards their bum at the outer side of their back. Now obviously when you're going up along the spine, we don't want excessive pressure over the spine because that's quite a fragile area too. We're then moving on to the wriggle worm, and this is where we're placing the pads of your 2 forefingers either side of the spine, starting at the top, and you're wriggling your fingers down either side at the top of the spine, putting gentle pressure down. And once you get to the bottom, you're releasing that pressure and going back to the top and wriggling your way back down again, and we're doing that 3 times over. We then move on to the daisy chain. For the daisy chain, we place our hands on either side of the spine at the top of their bum, and then using the pads of our fingers, we make a small line of circles, wriggling our way all the way up, daisy chaining the petals up the spine, either side of the spine, up towards the shoulders, and then we're gliding the hands down, back down the sides in one fluid motion to return back to that starting point. And we're going to do that 3 times over again. We then have the finger rake, and that's using one hand, you're spreading your fingers down out and you're stroking from the top of the back across the shoulders, from the neck all the way down to their bottom. Now you're doing this using your fingertips, it could be all 5, but as you will see on the video coming up, I'm just using 3. That's more for demonstration purposes, but again it really depends on the size of your baby and the size of your hands, but that's really very much up to you. And then you'd finish with the cover of love on the back as well, as per picture demo there. So the full body massage then. So the full body massage is the consecutive strokes used in one massage section. So always starting with week 1 and the legs first. And then if you do need to finish earlier than completing week 4, then so be it, but you just always remember that you finish with your cover of love. So if you make it all the way to the end of your back session, then yes, your cover of love would be done on the back. But if baby only wants you to do weeks 1 and week 2, you finish with your cover of love again, just on the front. And obviously you'll still touch initially. So still touch first, cover of love, and then cover of love to finish as well. So the full massage is incorporated from what you've learned in all 4 weeks added up together, or 5 dependent on if you've split them up. But do remember to use this cover of love hold at the beginning and the end, not to exceed the overall time limit of 20 to 25 minutes. You don't want your baby getting too cold too quickly. And it is not inclusive of the colic or the teething sequences. They're ad hoc, so you still do your still touch beforehand, but they're for ad hoc use. You can incorporate them into your full body massage, although just be mindful you might go over your maximum time limit on that front. But ideally your teething and your colic is going to be when your baby's struggling with teething and colic, which isn't necessarily going to be in the middle of the massage, but that's for you to think on, and if you wanted to do it that way, then that's your call. And finally, that brings us to the very end of this presentation. Do click on the link to download your certificate, so then you can print it off yourself and complete it with both yours and baby's name on it. But I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining me and letting me participate on your baby's journey to restfulness and calm. Thank you.